looksmaxxing. So let's attack men now. Just kidding, just kidding. But we're here to talk about this thing called looksmaxxing, which I guess is not new, but it's new in my sphere of the world. So here we go. I was researching topics, things, trends, and I came across this. What the heck? What the heck? This thing called hammering your cheekbones or whatever, bone smashing or whatever it's called. We'll get to that, but leave it to men to do something DIY. At first, I thought that this was just your regular aesthetic changing situation, and I didn't really understand that it was a men's only trend. And basically, it's like men trying to catch up on the beauty standard trend that women have been now fighting with for so long. It's about this like chiseled look, these like hammering your cheeks to get that chisel look, the jaw defining exercises and all these things. And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing? When it got to the hammering, what are we doing? What are we doing to ourselves, fellow humans? Fellow human beings. Where are the aliens helping us? Where are they? Never mind, forget I said that. You heard nothing, my lord. If you know, you know. Anyways, so apparently this like chisel look has also like these hunter eyes. Everything that I'm like, who finds this attractive? Because I don't see it. But what made me go straight to my notes and feeling like this deserves the episode is kind of the extreme DIY version of it. But also this idea that there's this like perfect human being, perfect man or perfect woman, aesthetically pleasing type of thing, and that if you strive to achieve that, then you'll be attractive. And I there's a lot of bugs. I don't agree. I think different people are attracted to different things for a number of reasons. One being biology, but I don't think hunter eyes is a biological attraction because it just looks predatory. And there's one guy that I was looking at on YouTube that was literally saying, like, I have prey eyes, which is not aesthetically pleasing. That's not the ideal. And I'm like, what are prey eyes? But I guess it's the opposite of hunter eyes. And why wouldn't hunter eyes be attractive? Except to other men. Anyways, so what is looksmaxxing? Let's start at the beginning for those people like me that have never heard of this until now. According to the merriam-webster.com dictionary, which I can't believe that we're putting anything in it, everything in dictionary nowadays. But yeah, it's a noun and it refers to efforts, sometimes extreme, young men take to look more attractive. Looksmaxxing refers to practices, especially among young men online, to enhance their physical appearance. These practices range in intensity from everyday skincare to cosmetic surgery and things in between that are odd. I guess sort of started. I don't think it started with this guy, but this is like the big name in this topic is this guy calls himself clavicular. And one of the videos that I was watching, where are these bugs coming from? They were not here all these other days. But yeah, this one guy that I was watching, I had this interview with this guy's company, basically. And it was interesting. But I digress. I'll come back. So first thing first, the thing that made me like go right into my notes is this thing called hunter eyes. No, just no. No, those are creepy. I mean, if you have them, cool, you have them. Hopefully, you have like a nice personality and not like, you're not creepy, you're not mean, you're not predatory, you're not all these things, but like, not the most attractive eyes, to be honest. Almond shape, yes, but hunter eyes are not almond shaped. They're just like squinty from what I saw. The like jawline, that's kind of neither here nor there. The high cheekbones, same thing, neither here nor there. The gauntness, I don't think that's good for any type of gender. And then, like the type of things. And, and they didn't mention this, and thank goodness they stopped here. But I remember there were a few guys that when I was like dating online that had this like okay, Tom Brady for example. I love that guys think he's hot and he's like great looking. He is ugly. Tom Brady is ugly. And he looks like a Neanderthal. They didn't, I guess, attack this because maybe they can't. But this like protruded forehead, the eyebrows being, the sunken eyes and all this stuff. Why? Why? Anyways, it goes more than just like your physical features that you're born with or not born with, but also into like skincare and exercising and other things. And depending on who you follow, they have more or less healthy ways to describe looksmaxxing. So yeah. But yeah, this hunterized thing specifically, they give. I'm like stuck on this. That they give off this like vicious, predatory, non-friendly look. So I don't understand why that's like the thing, and why that's a thing when it kind of turn. The idea of it is like, this way you can be more attractive to who? Like not to girls, not to women, and maybe not to other men too. Just like to who? To who? Anyways, the basic idea I was watching, oh gosh, Braden on YouTube. Shout out. All links will be below. But yeah, I was watching his video and he basically described the process being jaw exercises. I mean, okay, neck curls, okay, sounds like a man take on workout because like it's just like lifting your head, like you're laying down and you're lifting your head. I guess that's what they're called, but yeah, chin tucks, fair. I actually have to do chin tucks. Like I went to physical therapy and a bunch of times they told me like to do that for like posture and things. Posture training, gua sha, skincare, serum toner moisturizer, like kind of keeping it simple or more extensive depending on who you are, what you want, how much into it you want to get. Jaw exercisers. These are like chewable things that you put in your mouth and they're different weights, meaning they have different resistance to them. Anywhere from 30 pounds to 60 pounds, apparently. Yeah, they're like these mouth guard type of things that you chew on. And there's also jaw maxing gum, which again is also like it's not like as chewable as other gums. And then the star of the show, bone smashing. So, bone smashing is basically hitting your cheekbones with a hammer. I have one over here. This is actually, this hammer, I think not this particular one, but this type, chiropractor used on me with like a stake, a wooden stake, and just like pressure pointed. But you have to be very careful because there's like, you can get in big health trouble with things. Even like those, the vibration gun things, that people love for muscle post workout and stuff. Very careful around your neck. It can cause, I forget what it is. I should have looked this up. But it can cause maybe the concussion that they're talking about. It can cause like brain injury and like really severe things. So be very careful around your head. And here we are talking about hammering your cheekbones. But yeah, you hit your cheekbones to create micro fractures in your skull. To in your skull is a quote from people, to increase bone density, and apparently you need to take precaution. Oh, what do you know? Like keeping your head stable as you do this to prevent concussion. This is something that Braden mentions later in the video. First of all, as he discovers it later in the process of his 30-day trial of this, which he, spoiler alert, said he's not gonna do again. First of all, the one guy, at least that I was watching, Braden, he was more like tapping the hammer. So again, leave it to guys to make something sound more violent than it is and more like, oh, manly. I'm smashing my skull. I mean, he said that it was, and you could see he was very irritated. It was red, all that stuff. But it was more like tapping than smashing. But I can imagine there are videos out there and people out there that actually like go harder, thinking that it's going to yield better results or not understanding, just plain simple like risk. So be very careful and don't do this at all, even tapping. So, yeah. Oh, I was saying too, like, are you supposed to also wear foundation while you're doing this because the redness and the bruising and everything from hammering your cheekbones, it looked intense and it looks like you're abusing yourself because you are. Anyways, it is interesting because like the extreme presentation of things that women have somewhat done here and there already, like the chin tuck and the mouth exercises, and there's like mewing, whatever you pronounce that as, which is there are a bunch of like massofacial, is that the word, exercises that are supposed to change your facial muscles and kind of contour it, or yeah. So if you have like a protruded what is this called, chin, wow, Arena, or not, like none, like if it's sunken far behind or whatever, non-defined jawline, blah 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 blah, like these exercises are supposed to help, and women have been talking about this at least for a decade or more, that I know of. But when men are describing it and these videos, they're like so intense and like violent and like rough and like, oh, manly. So, yeah, I'm like, okay, been there, done that. All right. Anyways, besides the skull, the hammering thing. Also, let's turn, to some, like, let's have men. We can rely on men to turn something into a DIY project, which is what I said at the beginning too. But that's what I meant, like the hammering part of it all. Anyways, I'll say that also this hammering thing, I was more shocked, and as I was watching this guy's YouTube video, I was primed to be more shocked than these things are shocking. They're things generally that might not do anything, or maybe do a little bit, or maybe do more, but like they're not that like crazy. And I think what's crazier, or like what's more detrimental, is the movement behind it, the intention behind it, the messaging to young men behind it that makes them feel inadequate, unworthy if they're not this or that, which, I mean, again, welcome to a woman's world, right? But anyways, one of the other parts is skincare, and Braden mentioned at one point that he had the clearest skin that he's ever had, and I was like, no surprise. When you're taking good care of your skin, not overdoing it, not underdoing it, but good skincare, just low maintenance, just cleansing your face, adding little nutrients here and there, and then moisturizing. Yeah, I tends to do that. I know, because I'm the one that also complains like, oh, my skin, and then I just do basic stuff and my skin looks better. So yeah. Oh, and by the way, so I need to move around. I am trying pros again for hair. I haven't actually tried it yet again, but I did order it. And with it, they now have customized skincare. This is not an ad. I'm not sponsored. They don't know that I'm doing this. And I didn't plan on doing this. But this, like, is just like, it's right here. I don't know. I haven't tried other companies, and I know there's multiple customizable for you, skin care and hair care companies. I just like found pros a long time ago, and I kind of was like, okay, let's try this again. I'm really, 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 really upset and anti-pros when it comes to like scent, because they took away the one scent that was unique and pleasing, and they put like scents that sound like a nightmare for someone who gets migraines from scents. But anyways, but yeah, I started using this Pros skincare, custom skincare, and the moisturizer might be too heavy for the summer, and it might be like an issue. But I was shocked, pleasantly surprised at the cleanser and the serum. No reaction, and I do have reactive skin, but no reaction, and it actually kind of calmed it down. Even like yesterday, I was like burned from doing a bunch of these in the sun, and I'm still, and I kind of got not reburned because I did put sunscreen, but I don't know if it was like super useful. But in the morning, it was a tiny bit calmer, at least like one side. Once I got it worse, I need to put aloe vera. Fresh plant aloe vera is nothing like the gel that you buy in the store. If you get sunburned or anything close to it or burned on the stove or whatever, I have someone that I converted to already to that. I was converted to that. you know, someone told me I didn't know this stuff because I'm not Native American. I don't know aloe vera, but someone told me and I tried it and it was like a miracle. It is a miracle. So, anyways, but yeah, where was I? Where was I? Where was I? Okay, so let's start with probably one of the most intense sounding things, an extreme part of this, which is bone smashing. And another part of this, too, that is also extreme and intense is I forget what they call it, but I saw, if you saw The Materialists or whatever that movie was with Dakota Johnson and the other two guys. Darn it, I can't think of it. Anyways, can't think of their name. But yeah, the one guy supposedly it wasn't the best movie now that I think about it because I remember that scene. I was so confused. I'm like, what's happening? It looked the way that it was filmed was and directed and scripted and whatever edited. It looked like creepy nefarious, and then it turns out that it was about like basically like inserting more like elongating your legs, your shins or whatever as a man to grow a few inches. And one of the things that this one guy in this other video, the guy that was presenting him this like clavicular whatever app was saying that like, yeah, I went from 5'7" to 5'11". And it's like, first of all, if you ask my boyfriend, he'll tell you don't grow in height. I mean, I guess 5'11" is fine. If I'm 5'5", 5'11" I think is fine. But like 5'7" is good. I like 5'7". Anyways. But yeah, anyways. So my boyfriend is not that. It's okay. Can't have it all. He's taller, is what I mean. He's too tall. That's why it's like funny, because yeah. But anyways, so let's start with this bone smashing thing, because I didn't really go into those things because the videos that I watched and the articles that I read weren't really going into that extreme surgical aspect of it. So apparently, this bone smashing is based on this wolf. I forget what. I forget. I don't have his full name, but Wolff's law, where it's the scientific principle that bone adapts to mechanical stress. And I heard this about like kung fu and all these like practices, like they smash their like arms or legs on trees, and they increase the like density of the structure to basically increase the strength of their bones so their bones break less likely. So that's what I'm guessing that principle is on. So yeah, to build stronger bones. And I'm not gonna lie that I have kept this in mind for myself, and I've not applied it, but it has made me think about it, especially as a woman, and the whole like you're more prone to osteoporosis. I think I'm saying that wrong. Your bone density is more likely to be not enough, and all this stuff. I'm not gonna lie that it sounds very attractive to be able to do something because you also like develop less and less like pain to it and stuff. But yeah, I'm not talking about like skull. I'm talking about arms and legs, hips, things that like you're going to break. And that not like because if you hit your head, you injure your brain, whether like extreme injury or over time injury like concussion consequences. So don't mess with this part. But yeah, so that's kind of what it's based on. But it's not, to me, my understanding of how that works it's not gonna grow bone like you're growing muscle, like hypertrophy or whatever it's called. So like with weight, you can gain muscle density or muscle volume. And so, yeah, also, side note, like weight training also grows bone density. You don't have to smash yourself to grow bone density. Um, and so, yeah, so this principle that like by smashing your cheekbones, you'll have more protruded cheekbones because they'll grow. Like you're creating these microfractures, and therefore it's going to like build on top of it. First of all, you simply do not have control. Even if that were the case, you have no control of how it grows. And B, it doesn't work that way. Not exactly. Not exactly. It just becomes like denser. It's like bone density and thickness, not like bigger thickness, you know? So, yeah. So like my muscle hypertrophy, I feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong, but anyways, the stress tears muscle fibers and they repair bigger. You actually gain size, and that's when you do less reps and more weight. If you do more reps and less weight, you're just, well, I don't know. Not exactly. I don't know, but like you create more like the density. Like it's how I think how you use the muscle when you're doing that stress. Bone density, however, stress like weight bearing exercise or smashing, signals the bone to mineralize more because and become denser and stronger. But denser doesn't mean shaped differently or more prominent. A denser cheekbone is still the same cheekbone, just likely, just harder. Bone remodeling, what they're actually citing with Wool's law, bones do slowly reshape over time in response to sustained, consistent mechanical load. But that sustained load over long periods of time, not like a long, like how a weightlifter's bone structure gradually adapts over years, not acute blunt trauma. Hitting your face with a hammer is not load, it's injury. So a lot of this is what it seems like to be very temporary and not actual increasing of the bone and the structure, but you're just making inflammation which swells up and it looks more, you know, protruding. But you have it's trauma, so you have this inflammation and swelling and microfractures and tissue damage and potentially nerve damage and so on and so forth. It can potentially lead to vascular or neurological damage, facial numbness, neurological damage, asymmetry, because you can't control how it rebuilds, and also, yeah, anything about it. And even blindness from fractures behind the eye. Apparently, someone I'll link the link below from Unilad. But yeah, apparently someone got blindness from this. Brain injury, concussion, paralysis, numbness, nerve damage, basically, and all of that stuff. And I put dot 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 dot, and the lack of girlfriends. A, because we don't want violent people, and B, because you don't necessarily look better. And that's not why people are attracted to you, mostly. Yeah. Anyways, I think in the same article, Brazilian doctor Ricardo Grillo, I pronounce that so Spanish and not Portuguese, sorry. Ricardo Grillo. Do you pronounce? I think double L is still L in Portuguese. Anyways, wrote a letter to the Journal of Stomatology, Oral and Maxillofacial, that's the word, surgery, warning that risks encompass a range of severe maxillofacial injuries which can cause cosmetic disfigurement, functional impairment, and other potential long-term consequences. He added that obviously it was a stupid idea. This is kind of like a semi-quote. With an enormous list of risks, including scar tissue and vascular neurological damage, he concluded, and this is a quote, there is also a risk of facial asymmetry since this trauma is not controlled, which is what I was saying, but here's the article part. And there's also the sinuses, which I haven't found I had to dig for this, but I was like, sinuses are there. And I know that if I even press, on this area, it hurts. It depends if like things are happening with my sinuses, depends on the time of year, allergies, whatever, but it would really hurt. And so, what does it potentially do to those? That's where you're like breathing, mucus, all of these things are happening. And what I could find is, and doctors, correct me if I'm wrong, expand further in the comments, please. But by fracturing your cheekbones or doing all this potential damage, it might also fracture threaten the sinus wall, the drainage, and so forth. And it can also lead to, like they said earlier, extreme things extreme as blindness, and so on and so forth. And if you've had like sinus issues, that's not fun. It can have like really bad headaches accompanying with it, like migraine situations, like you can't, have bright lights, all this stuff from sinus migraines, sinus headaches. Like it's not just like, okay, the health risks, the big ones, but also just like day to day life. And what's interesting is that it is this like operating system in the same principle, like that women have done certain things, but the opposite, like chewing gum and like tightening your jaw, like when you're sleeping. I forget what it's called, but some people get injections to like loosen things up because of like tight muscle, like grinding or whatever when you're sleeping or even during the day, and it creates like a thicker neck and like all this like jaw stuff. And it's interesting because to women, that's something they tend to want to avoid. Oh my gosh. Man. Okay, it's been a long day. So yeah, so it's interesting that it's like the opposite. It's not that interesting, but it's worth, to me, it's worth noting. Like, okay. The one thing I noticed with Braden's video is that when he was doing the before, during, and after videos, the lighting changed. So I wonder if he had the same lighting, would he look similar? And I also wondered if the gauntness, and like I said, what I mean by gauntness is like when your cheeks are pulled in. I wonder if that's also because he was going at the gym at the same time, and I think that was part of it, but he didn't really mention it. I missed it. But yeah, so like he was less puffy, or had become more leaner, more lean. And not these like things. But either way, he said like, I'm not doing this again. Another video, roars, whatever his name is. First of all, congratulate a girl for like watching and putting herself through these guys' videos, because it was chaos. It felt so much. People might call it adrenaline. I would call it stress. So much, like fast and boom, boom, and loud, and just a lot. Like, calm down. I love how guys tell us women to calm down, where they're like they need someone to be like, and they go, don't do that, and this and that, and blah blah. But we need to calm down. Okay. So yeah. So besides that, a lot of his advice was actually pretty okay, pretty good and sound. Like hydrate, sleep. He contradicted himself on this surgery thing, but when he talked specifically about surgery, he said avoid surgery. But then he had two other points that sounded like he doesn't believe that. But yeah, go for lean rather than skinny or fat, because that was like how he started. It's like if you're too skinny or too fat, like go for the middle. Now, who establishes that middle? I think that's a question worth asking. But yeah, and his approach, I definitely noticed, like, I wouldn't mind if people would talk to me like that as a woman, as a girl. Like, he was saying, like, if you're a twig or a Michelin man, like, and I was like, why would women get offended by that? But I think it's because of, like, the way that conversation for women aesthetic has been along the years, but I would not mind someone talking to me like that. Like, it's specifically how this guy was saying it, because it can be in a mean way. And yeah, I don't know. It just like stood out to me. Like, I've heard guys talk in certain ways that women would be offended if someone would talk to them like that. Like, if their friends would talk to them like that, versus like guy friends to guy friends or things like that. And yeah, anyways, simple skincare, nothing crazy. Facial hair is like, whatever you have, work with it. If you can't really grow a beard, don't try. All that stuff. I mean, that can go into like, well, maybe someone wants the stubble. I don't know. Uh, Either that was a bug or something. Face shape. Although again, this one is the first one where he goes kind of against the no plastic surgery advice. Eyebrows attention, wardrobe, neutral colors. He was saying, I'm like, it depends. It depends. Some people like want color and they should want color, and some people look really good in color. And we need more color in our lives. But I understand kind of what he was saying. There is that timeless sort of look, but that also has been decided. So, anyways, basically, timeless is code word for boring, non inspired, no taking risk, no trying, no living. That's my take on that. The teeth, this was like interesting because he was saying like it take fixing your teeth can take you from harassment to flirting with minimal effort. First of all, it's not minimal effort. It takes a lot of money and or effort to fix your teeth. But also that's not what makes harassment, dude. That's not what makes harassment. I actually say here, my dude. Buccal fat removal, but no surgery. Okay. Also, check out Dr. Idris's videos on buccal fat removal and how it actually long term, like pretty short long term effects, will do the opposite of what you're trying to achieve with that. So check that out. Yeah. So I must say that having to watch these like guys these videos geared for guys, like I said, it's been a long day. It was tough. It was overstimulating. But I also found that I mean, and this wasn't a surprise, but it was a surprise as far as like the content out there. It was relatable. It was nice. There were a lot of relatable, nice guys out there that had like a good head on their shoulders. Braden being one of them, and this next guy, Ben of the Week, being another one. I loved Ben of the Week. I loved his content and his take on this. Spoiler alert, I didn't watch, I think, the whole video. I think I watched like more than half, but not the whole one. But yeah, it just felt at the same time, all of them, whether, it was like, whatever it was. It feels like, and you might really hearing me and listening to me because I do talk fast, but I also don't, I feel like, overstimulate you with a bunch of like graphics and like flashes of light and sound and graphics and just it just felt like coming out of a tornado every time. It's like, what? Like a disheveled cat is probably what I looked like. But anyways, so Ben of the Week, his video, he got on the phone or on this discovery call with clavicular, whatever. Not with him specifically, but someone on the team, whatever. And And one of the first things that I caught was how he was saying that basically the self confidence, prey eyes, uh, him saying this to this guy, and this is a quote, the guy, quote, sensing deep insecurity in me, they felt I was a great fit for their program. Said so perfectly for all of these, for like the women's side of things too. And then I said, I love end of the week because on top of this guy talking about like there was this cut. to this like TikToker or whatever, talking about money as the most important or one of the most important things technically, et cetera, et cetera. Ben of the Week did this huge screen wide text saying, "We are going to die out as a species." And I just cracked up. I was like, perfectly said. Touche, touche. Dear Ben, let's be friends. Let's be friends. I like how real he keeps it. I think what I liked about him, at least from these snippets, is that it made me not fear the world for young men. It made me have hope that they will be okay. Because if they have people like him, who, like I said, have obviously a good head on their shoulder and are not like, pulled into this craziness and crap, just like women, there's like some good women out there that have a good head on their shoulder and they're not pulled into that crap, they'll be okay. We'll be okay as a human species. But yeah, one thing I did appreciate about curvicular whatever, the Discovery Call walked this Ben guy through the inside of the platform, what the program looks like. It was kind of stupid, honestly, because it was like, look at what this guy said, and look at what this other guy said, and blah, blah, blah. But I liked that I want to take note of that as far as like when I have Discovery Calls to show like the behind the scenes, the process, what to expect. And maybe I don't have much of an application to that. I don't have an app and platform like that. But I think more people should handle it that way. That was like really cool. But yeah, I that's the only positive out of that. $1,000 for the program is what it cost. And I don't know for how long. I don't know if that's per year, but it doesn't matter. Because I feel like I need to do some reprogramming around like money worth, because I'm actually doing scientifically proven or based coaching, whatever you want to call it, relationship coaching, life coaching, self coaching, attachment style coaching is what it is, whatever you want to call it. And I'm feeling bad to charge $250 a month, where most people, and I'm not a therapist and I wouldn't be a therapist, but it is kind of that sort of like arena of work and the coaching, therapy, all that stuff. You're like working one on one with people, and that's like 2 sessions, or maybe even 1 session for a therapist or even a coach. That's how much they pay for 1 hour, or they make people pay for 1 hour. And I'm over here like, oh my gosh, no one wants to. I that no one wants to pay me, but that I feel bad asking people to give out that amount of money. I guess like life shouldn't work that way. Not to that extreme. $250 a month is probably not extreme, but like $1,000. I don't know if it's per month or per year. It's still a lot, right? So, anyways, and because it was like money down too. But yeah. So, yeah, I digress. I digress. This is where the guy said that he went from 5'7" to 5'11". And I laughed and I recorded myself, insert here. But I recorded myself laughing while I was watching this at a cafe, because and that was like a replay, but honestly, I burst out in laughter. Quietly, but I burst out in laughter when I heard that. I'm like, okay, is this some kind of like materialist type of creek? In creek, I mean, the S word. I also, but he didn't say, at least like what was included in this guy's video. He didn't say how he got to that height, because was he pretending that you get to that height without surgery? Because that's not possible unless you're like in a growth spurt. But if you're like 30, you're not gonna grow. I also commend his integrity, Ben of the Week's integrity, for not going through with paying $1,000 for the program purchase, despite that he was doing an actual video on this, and he even said that. I was like, good job. I think that's the right call, even though people, like, I guess, need to to hear this. Is this a spider or an ant? I can't tell. I think it's an ant. Yeah. Can you go the other way? I think I heard it. I didn't mean to hurt you. I'm sorry. Or actually, I don't think I heard it. I think it's like having a really tough time on this. Can you get on this leaf, please? I don't have anything better. There's like a bark or something here. This is harder. And it needs to be. Oh my gosh, a big one. Oh my gosh, that's a big one. But yeah, so now that we covered a bit of the reactionary type of things, what is this for? What is it about this trend, and why do people have kind of a stronger feeling about this rather than like the women's trends on aesthetics? And it's basically, and I'm having deja vu, but it's basically that it's connected, and some people say it's a rebrand of incel, and I'll get to what that is because I didn't really know what that is either. So, Fortune, there's this article in Fortune, and this kind of article makes me hopeful, calling looksmaxxing the economy built on male insecurity. To quote the article, which quotes Mount Sinai's Hildebrand, who is not surprised that Umax's app, I guess that's like the curvicular whatever, and Letham's hair care products have caught on. I didn't hear about that. Anyways, he believes the looksmaxxing economy takes advantage of men's insecurities using methods that have minted trillions of dollars for female-focused cosmetics and wellness brands. The producers of looksmaxxing content and products are figuring out that men are just as vulnerable as women to that negative feedback. If you make anyone feel insecure about their identities, they are willing to throw money after a solution for that. Yeah, pretty well said. And I think that's a pretty important thing to highlight in all of this. As I always say, we're not that different. So I want to highlight that moment and sit with that moment as I'm terrified of huge ants coming on this. But yeah, like males, females, and I do use those terms, and some people take offense to those terms, and I get the idea, but no. But yeah, they we're not that different, and the insecurities and everything and the way someone can manipulate us and get in our heads is the same. It may take different wording or different things to highlight, but it's the same mechanism. That's what I'm trying to say. So yeah, it also appears to potentially be like a side door entry to what is known as incels, is another article. That's France 24. I think that's, yeah. And I had to learn about that a little bit. So let me share what that is, because I've heard it in passing, but I've never like really dug deep. So incel is, I think I wrote that later on, but like, uh, where is it? Something like oh gosh, involuntary celibacy, like basically. And for a second I didn't understand that term because I was like, celibacy, that's a choice. But no, what they're saying basically is like, you're celibate because of how you look or how you act or whatever, and women are not attracted to you because of that, and therefore, you know you're not celibate by choice. That just doesn't happen. So France 24 says looksmaxxing influencers, part of an online ecosystem dubbed the manosphere, have surged in popularity across social media, capitalizing on the insecurities of young men eager to boost their physical attractiveness to women. So it's for women. Okay. Just like skincare and makeup industries have convinced women that all of that makes them more attractive to men, but women are like, no, it doesn't. No, that's not why I wear makeup. That's not why I wear the clothes that I wear. It's because it makes me feel good. I'm like, and why does it make you feel good? Yeah. But anyways, so and then also at the end of the day, it doesn't quite work for either, because attractiveness depends on many factors, so many factors. But I will also say that I've heard so many men talk about, liking bigger butts when big butts were not popular, or, and it makes sense, it makes sense evolutionary and just like comfort wise and all that. And then also, like their girlfriends, wives, etc., that they look better without makeup on and all this stuff. And we also hear from women the same thing, as far as like many women don't like muscles on guys, not like what guys think we like. And we're more into like dad bods and all that stuff, and it's true. But again, like what that is, the definition of all of those, like depends too on everyone. But yeah, so I was saying that taking care of yourself is attractive, like eating healthy, simple like skincare, like just washing your face and moisturizing. That, that's kind of it. And where did I go? Brushing your teeth, taking showers. I don't know why I needed the script for that. But yeah, things like that. Yes, that does make anyone more attractive or less attractive if you don't do that, and more pleasant to be around. But that's not, the extreme stuff of like makeup and certain exercises, wears, tears, whatever. And I said, like many women like the more soft hugs, body dad bods, and I bet not the predatory eyes that people talk about in this looksmaxxing trend. But that might be, just my personal, extrapolated personal preference. France24 continues. In other videos, British influencer Oscar Patel promoted mewing, whatever, an unproven technique that involves pressing the tongue into the roof of the mouth for improving jaw and facial structure. I already heard about this for women. Without offering evidence, he told his nearly 188,000 TikTok followers, that's like nothing, that such tricks would turn them into a PSL god. That was a direct quote. An internet slang for exceptionally attractive men, short for perfectly symmetrical looks. Like, okay. Besides the health risks of any of these like looks maxing and women's perfection guides, there's also the reality that there is no perfect. I don't think truly there is anything perfect. We do have like certain people that look universally attractive more or less, but it's not scientifically proven exactly. It's not like you took every single person on this planet and quizzed them, and everyone on this planet, no matter where they are, anything, agrees. So yeah, I don't think that I'm so like on edge now. But yeah, I don't think there's like just this one perfect thing, and so I think that's like dangerous or just stupid to promote. It's not stupid if you think that, being greedy and taking other people's money and taking advantage of people is not stupid. My gosh, these ants, go away. Go away, ant, go away. Oh, man. I don't want to be here because as soon as I've found grass, it's like, I'm out. Anyways. And then when it comes to incel, apparently that's short for involuntary celibate. Cue eye roll. Looksmaxxing is rooted in incel, or involuntary celibate communities, in internet subculture rife with misogyny, with men tending to blame women and feminism for their romantic feelings, according to France24. The idea of looksmaxxing, and according to France24, there is also gym maxing and money maxing. So original. It's all with the ultimate goal of increasing sexual desirability. And I was thinking about this the other day, actually, yesterday or 2 days ago, completely unrelated. How everything revolves around this like skex, smex, schmex, whatever you want to like call it for the internet. When these types of trends come online, when you see these guys or girls or whoever so desperate, but like, especially like in the guy world, I'm very curious, and this is not part of this particular episode and the research I was able to do for this episode, but I am curious, like, is there truly a biological basis for why the talks around this and the goals being around this part of being human, is it really something that is innate to guys? That is like, we know that it's not. We know that there's many women like this too. But like, I don't understand if that's really evolutionary wise, biological, or it's other. I don't know. It just feels like, to me, it has always felt like the obsession and the fixation with this is unnatural, if that makes sense. Anyways, it also like creates a skewed sense of worthiness and unrealistic or unhealthy thing that you center your whole identity around. Where was I? Oh, I also said that when you see these trends come online, you also see guys that are desperate to pay and to give into these and to do these things and all that stuff. But all across the board, from what I've seen, all of these guys seem to crave connection, affection, love, to be accepted, to be loved, to be part of a community, to be part of a family, to whatever, to not be, on the outside, kind of, to not kind of be left behind. And this is what it was saying earlier, like, these trends kind of take advantage of that's in all of us, and terms like very nice things, that's weakness or being beta or zeta or whatever, not alpha. Focusing on smashing, not just cheekbones, the colloquial term of smashing, dominance, and also as if there's like this limited space at the top, as if like there is a top to begin with, and as if like that's all the guy is worth too. More widely, back to France 24, more widely, this does feed into toxic beauty standards which affect men as well as women, said Venkatarama Krishnan from the Institute of Strategic Dialogue. I didn't know that was an institute. The idea that if you don't look like a Hollywood star, and I have thoughts about that, you might as well give up trying for a relationship. This idea is deeply damaging. Although, like, sound word bite, I just wanted to like try to read that guy's name or that person's name. I think it's a guy, but I guess I'm assuming. But yeah, and also this Hollywood star. First of all, lately Hollywood stars do not look great. We don't have like perfectly beautiful Hollywood stars anymore. The aesthetics have changed, and they change all the time and with different generations, what we deem like beautiful or attractive. So that's another thing of like putting yourself through life or like body changing, permanent changes. You gotta be careful with that. And then almost at the end here, in another article, this like Portsmouth expert that I think there was like up above in France 24 mentioned or something, also is talked about, saying, rough quote, a new study carried out by cybercrime and gender experts at the University of Portsmouth, or Portsmouth, has revealed that incel social media accounts are rebranding to bypass bans and appeal to wider audiences on TikTok. And then there's also something about T boosting, like testosterone boosting. And I didn't even, that's all I put literally here, like something about T boosting, because I wanted to like briefly like mention this, and it's kind of glossing over it. That's stupid. I don't know. That's just like stupid. When I think of like how guys think about that stuff, and they put like, I think again, unrealistic. They try to bypass biology as far as like feelings and all the other things that can, contribute to things like that. And that like they're more men if they have more testosterone. And most of these guys don't even know that they don't have enough testosterone. They just assume. on what? They don't make, they don't go for lab tests to test it, It's just like the idea, like, oh, you must, if this and that, like, you must have, low levels of testosterone. So yeah. Time article, there's a little quote here from Time. Take Patrick Bateman, the protagonist of American Psycho, who has become the movement's mascot. So that's like a problem. The villain's extensive exercise and grooming routines, including ice packs, a honey almond body scrub, and 1,000 crunches, have been stripped of their satirical intent and copied by young men. Buy T-boosting supplements to boost your muscle mass. Take methamphetamine to suppress your appetite. And end with a face mask, they'll say. The results are shared by aspiring Sigma males. Oh, there's Sigma. So we moved past Alpha. That's completely new. I've never heard of Sigma. I've heard of all of these more or less, but never heard of that. The manosphere's definition of an introverted, successful, hyper independent guy. So you're not looking to actually link in any type of way with women by saying that, because you're hyper independent. You don't need anyone. You're a one person island. You're somehow not human. You don't need anyone. Okay, cool. Yeah, so apparently this was not a new trend. It seems like it started like 2024, 14, something with a 4. Or maybe 2004, I don't know. But I think it's reaching people and people are talking more. Because I remember there's like a show, I think on Netflix, I think it's called Adolescence or Adolescent or something, about something or another that's like bad. And I remember people linking it to this looksmaxxing word. And I didn't know until this, and now you know. But yeah, what got to me, ironically, after all of that, was this hunter eye thing. That's what got to me. What got to me was the ideas that people, in this case, men, have of what women find attractive, and in other cases, in many other cases, what women I think that men find attractive. And in neither case, they're really correct. It's such a guesswork, and it's so, if anything, it shows you how you're not actually empathetic, as in, like, you're not actually seeing through the other people's eyes. You're seeing through still your eyes, but making it about the other people. You know, I think that's actually a great summary of this. So, thank you for joining me on episode 4, Looksmaxxing, and I will see you on another one. Bye, peace, love, and compassion, and stay curious.